So good evening everyone, I am Vishal Salsekar and today we are going to discuss the News Today edition of 29th of August, right? So in this particular News Today edition, we are going to cover total 5 important articles. The first article is regarding the bypass project approved in the fragile Bhagirathi eco-sensitive zone, right? So we're going to discuss comprehensively regarding this article. Next is the increasing monsoon-related extreme weather events. So to some extent, because there have been a lot of disasters that are seen specifically in the region of the northern part of India, this particular aspect is very, very important, that why the monsoon-related events are going very, very extreme. What are the reasons behind the same, right? Next is regarding the UNGA launches initiative for the global AI governance. So since we know that right now the era where we are living is the era of the artificial intelligence, right? So this is of no doubt. So in that particular case, we have to ensure that that artificial intelligence, along with the technological developments, there should be certain ethical aspects that should also be part of that. So that we are going to discuss. Next is regarding UDISE plus survey report 2024-25, which is the report of the Ministry of Education. We are going to discuss this, that what kind of things it is highlighting as a part of data. Last article that we are going to discuss is the road accidents in India 2023 report. So it has highlighted that what are the major causes of the road accidents, which particular kind of vehicles are very, very prone in that particular regard, right? How we can ensure the better road safety, right? Then after that, we are going to discuss in the quick update section, first regarding the personality in news, which is Raja Prithu Rai, right? So we are going to discuss the personality also comprehensively, and then there are certain other quick updates. So let's get started with the discussion with our first article, which is regarding the bypass project approved in the Bhagirathi eco-sensitive zone despite the rejection by the Supreme Court committee. Now, what was the exact scenario in that particular case? So recently we are seeing a lot of disasters that are happening in the northern part of the country, right? Now, one such issue with respect to that particular disaster's intensity, because see, when there is certain region which is hazard prone, that means the landslide might be there, earthquake might appear, right? In those particular scenarios, what can happen, that if we are going to build up a lot of construction or do a lot of construction like the dam, like the road infrastructure or the highways, in that particular case, we are making that region comparatively more vulnerable, even the population more vulnerable, right? So Supreme Court in this particular regard, the high powered committee of the Supreme Court had previously rejected this bypass project in the Bhagirathi eco-sensitive zone, right? But now the state government of Uttarakhand has given approval to this particular project. So why it is important from the examination perspective? General Studies paper 3, where you will see the topics like the environment and ecology, where the things regarding the conservation, eco-sensitive zones, the infrastructure versus ecology debate, it is very, very important thing. Then the sustainable development, and then the entire aspects of the disaster and the disaster management, it is very, very important. Then general studies paper 1 also, it is important as part of the geographical feature, because we know that the Himalayas are vulnerable, right? And the landslide, a lot of other tectonic activities can be visible in that specific region, right? So why it was in news? Because Uttarakhand government has provided the in principle approval to the project, which is the Nitala bypass in the fragile Bhagirathi eco-sensitive zone. So this particular eco-sensitive zone, I have already explained you previously that what is eco-sensitive zone. Suppose karo there is an area which is protected region, where there may be forest, where there may be wildlife. So in around that particular region, some specific kilometer region which might act as a buffer to that region, so that the first impact should be done on that particular region. Now see, that does not mean that you can do anything with that region, because that particular region is ecologically sensitive region. If you are going to disrupt a lot of ecological activities, for example, you are going to perform the deforestation, you are going to cut that particular region in order to lay down the road infrastructure, eventually what has happened recently in the Tharali region, the similar kind of event might occur in this particular context. So that's why in the eco-sensitive zone, certain activities are prohibited. That's why the development that we are doing on the plains that we can't do in general in the eco-sensitive zones because of the vulnerability of the region. But then Supreme Court also previously in the form of the high-powered committee that was provided by the Supreme Court had rejected this particular Nitala bypass because of the fragility of that particular region, because of the ecological and the social concern. Because don't you think so that if there will be any road infrastructure development in that region, there will be displacement of the people, there will be deforestation. Now the forest also acts as a binder of the soil in that region. If there will be deforestation, the soil will get loosen up, and in that particular scenario, what is going to happen? That the soil will start flowing towards the downward direction. And in that case, you will observe the mud flow or the landslide related issues, right? So that's why Supreme Court had provided a caution, and that's why Supreme Court had not provided the approval for this project. But now then the government provided this, or the Ministry of Defense has said that this is a strategically important project and the BRO is going to take care of this project. We are going to take care of the environmental impact assessment of this region, right? And hence the in principle approval is now being given by the Uttarakhand government in order to lay down this particular project. Now this brings us to the dilemma that whether the environment should be prioritized or whether the development should be prioritized. Because if you are going to do the mindless development, then in that particular case, what will happen actually, that you are going to compromise upon the environment. But if you are going to too much for the protection of the environment, then don't you think so that you are also compromising upon the development of that region? So in that particular case, this debate becomes very, very important. Why it is more important? Because recently we are observing a lot of issues in the northern part of the country. That's why it is to be discussed in the comprehensive manner. Now what is this debate about? So the debate ka first aspect is that the case for development. Now what is the case for development? Now the people who are pro for the development says that the development provides the economic growth and the poverty reduction, because if the population is going to get increased, you have to provide them the avenues to earn, you have to give them the growth, you have to give them the development. If you are not going to give them the development, then eventually there will be a lot of issues. You can see the things that are going on in the Africa or any other region which is comparatively underdeveloped. And in that particular case, the country might be even dominated by the other countries as far as different matters are concerned. Next is the national security and the strategic needs, because on the other side of the border, whether it is the China or whether it is any other country which is the bordering country of India, they are doing the infrastructural development. Now, if India is not going to match up that particular level of infrastructure, don't you think so that India might be putting itself in the strategically vulnerable position? Because then in that case, the enemy power will be having comparatively better accessibility in order to guard the border. And suppose tomorrow if there is any kind of aggression, in that case, India will be comparatively considered as the backward in that regard, right? We might not be able to protect the borders or any other issues that might occur, and that will need the urgent resolution. So that's why India is also doing the border infrastructure development, but that particular development is also coming at some cost of the environment also. Next is the energy and the urbanization needs, because we will need the energy in the future, and we already have discussed multiple times that the government has achieved this particular target of the 50% of the energy from the non-fossil fuel based resources. There is the hydropower project, that is also one such part of this. So for energy, you will need the hydropower project, you will need certain projects which will be at the cost of environment also, because for the hydroelectricity project or the hydropower project, specifically for the large hydropower project, you will need the deforestation, you will be submerging that region with the water, and then you will be eventually utilizing the turbine in order to produce the electricity. Similarly, for the urbanization also, you will do the deforestation. Lastly, the human welfare, because if you are doing the developmental activity, basically it is also going to create the human welfare. You are providing the jobs, you are providing the avenues to get the employment in different areas, right? You are providing them the better security with respect to the livelihood and all. So that's the case for development. But similar is the case for environment also, because if we are doing the mindless development, then how we are going to get the oxygen, how we are going to get the basic things that we are getting from the ecosystem. For example, there will be ecologically fragility, right? In that case, there will be fragile ecosystem and the disasters that we are already seeing in the regions of the Uttarakhand or Himachal Pradesh or Jammu and Kashmir or any other region where there has been a major hit because of these particular developmental projects. Then the issues due to the climate change. Now the climate change is further increasing the severity of these particular event, whether it is the erratic monsoon or whether it is increasing intensity of the way the heat stress is also getting developed. So the hot temperature or the summer period is also getting extreme, the winter period is also getting extreme, and even the monsoon is getting extreme because of the issue of the climate change. Next is the intergenerational equity, because see, whatever resources or the natural resources we are using, it's not our own property. We are the trustees of the same. So we have to act like one. It should not be like that we should be considering ourselves as the owner of this particular entire ecology that we are seeing around us, or the ecosystem that we are having right now. So we have to pass that to the successive generations also. Then the livelihood issues, again, when there will be disruption of the environment, obviously there will be livelihood issues that are going to emerge, right? Now based upon this, what are the drivers for the environmental degradation? So if we are doing the mindless growth or the large developmental project, it will need the displacement, it will need the deforestation, that is going to impact the environmental things, right? Then the excessive urbanization, if we are doing excessive urbanization, that means deforestation will also be there. There will be a lot of energy need. For that energy need, you will find the alternative sources of energy, right? That is also one such issue. Then the policy loopholes. Sometime what happens that maybe in the need of the strategic importance project, you are disrupting too much into the ecologically fragile region. And in that particular cases, once there will be any cloudburst event, and then eventually the entire post might get also disrupted. So we have to think in a broader manner that which should be our developmental priorities, right? Then the large industrial zone, obviously the industries are important. Industries will be acting as a major hub in order to provide the sustainability, to provide the employment, to provide the basic livelihood, but then at what cost? So the region which are having ecologically sensitive regions, so in those regions, obviously you will not be able to establish the sustainable industries, right? So all these things are the driver for the environmental degradation. Now, when we are talking about the environmental degradation, now you have to tell me that what should be the approach that the country should be following. Because hota kya hai, that when we are compromising on the development, then we are thinking that we could have developed better. When we are compromising upon the environment, then we think that we could have preserved the environment better. So it is always going to be the dilemma. So the mindful approach, the balanced approach is the need of time. Now you have to tell me that what will be that particular balanced approach. Now when we talk about these approaches, there are 4 basic approach that we can discuss. And see, this is not sacrosanct. इसके अलावा भी बहुत अलग तरीके से चीजें डिस्कस की जा सकती हैं, but this is the approaches that we can discuss. First is the ecological approach. This ecological approach may be considered as one of the most restrictive approach, which says that tomorrow if you are going to compromise a lot on the ecosystem, then in that particular cases, how you are going to survive? So for survival, ecosystem and the environment is needed, and the sustainable environment is needed. That's why first preserve the finite resources that we are having, and then only think about the development. So this is the ecological approach. Next is the strong sustainable development, which says ki yes, we have to do the development, we have to ensure the sustainable development. What kind of development? Where we should be ensuring the strict regulation, means there should be environmental impact assessment, there should be community support, there should be community consideration that should be there, right? Apart from that, the governmental intervention. ऐसा ना हो कि the private companies are taking the entire region and then they are exploiting like anything. So there should be government intervention also, and strong community involvement, because those who are going to get impacted, they should also be the part of the decision making wala thing. Next is the weak sustainable development approach. Now strong sustainable development approach was saying ki yes, the primacy has to be given to the environment, but then the development should also carry it forward. But yes, the more thing is to regulate. First thing mein it was talking about that restrict karo. If there are finite resources, we have to ensure that first the environmental conservation should be there, and then only think about the development, right? So healthy ecosystem as a precondition for the human being. Next is the weak sustainable development. Here the obviously sustainable development has to be ensured, but there should be a balance. Like आप regulations को भी make sure करो, but at the same time you have to utilize the development का benefit also. So in that case what you are going to do, for example compensatory forest afforestation वाला things, like so if you are disrupting that particular forest region, then do the afforestation in some other region, provide the cost of disrupting that particular ecology, submit that money to the government so that government will be doing the afforestation activity. So making polluters to pay, incentivizing the environment friendly practices, right? So obviously the area based approach and a lot of things that can be considered. But here the primacy to some extent is being provided to the development, but at the same time the environment is also taken into consideration. Last is the trade myth approach, where it is said that jaise if we are doing the disruption to the environment and when we are progressing scientifically, the science will tell us, or the subsequent time period will tell us, that how we can prevent the disruption of the environment, right? So in that case it is said that the human ingenuity and the technology is going to solve the problem. So we had not seen the problem that we are facing right now 15 years or 20 years back. So tomorrow, when after 10 to 15 years we are going to face the new problem, there will be technological solution that are going to be appear for the same. So human being will be able to resolve those. Now you have to tell me that which particular approach is most suitable one, and then what should be the way ahead in this particular regard, how we can solve this development versus environment dilemma. Right. Now how UPSC asked the question about these. So UPSC ne a mixed set of question UPSC had asked already. The flooding in the urban areas is emerging as a climate induced disaster. Discuss the causes of the disaster, because see, urban areas, urbanization at the cost of the environment, that is causing the severity of the disaster. Mention the features of two such major floods in the last 2 decades in India. So major urban flood के बारे में question है, but to some extent when we will discuss about the second topic, mixing them both, you can provide a lot of pointers in this regard. Next is explain the mechanism and the occurrence of the cloudburst in the context of the Indian subcontinent. So we have already discussed about this question, that you have to give an idea regarding the mechanism and the occurrence of cloudburst. Now cloudburst may increase the severity of the issues that we are facing, because cloudburst is an extreme event, and when we are doing the development at the cost of environment, the extremity will further increase. Next is the disaster preparedness is the first step in any disaster management process. Explain how the hazard zonation mapping will help in the disaster mitigation in this particular case of landslide. So here the landslide related aspect, and apart from that disaster preparedness. So before even occurrence of any disaster, we should be prepared of. So next article, that is also on the similar lines. Along with this particular article, we can make a balanced answer. Obviously you will get certain pointers only, you have to add the value to that. Next is the concept of the carrying capacity of an ecosystem. This is what we were talking about, that the eco-sensitive zone is not for the exploitation. It is ensuring that there should be a buffer that should be there around the protected region. But then the carrying capacity is that this particular region has the limited carrying capacity. Iske beyond, if you are going to disrupt that particular region, then the entire ecosystem is going to get collapsed, right? So this is the question regarding this. Explain how the understanding of this concept is vital while planning for the sustainable development of a region. So a lot of pointers you can think about after reading this particular article. Next article is regarding the monsoon-related extreme weather events increasing the India's climate and the disaster vulnerabilities. Means there have been a erratic monsoon that have been observed in the recent days. Now there are multiple factors that have caused the same, but that is causing the disaster vulnerability. Again, from the perspective of disaster management, it is important. And recently when we have seen the erratic monsoon, whether it is Punjab, whether it is Uttarakhand, whether Himachal Pradesh, whether Jammu and Kashmir, or in the neighboring countries region, this becomes very, very important, right? So from the perspective of GS paper 3, disaster management, environment, climate change, adaptation, and even GS paper 1, because monsoon is an important topic. Now, what is the changing nature of monsoon? So see, whenever you are going to answer the question, one such approach to answer the question is to give the current context. In the introduction, you can even give the current context that shows that whether you are current aware or not. So in that case, you can quote the recent examples, like the recent extreme events like Punjab floods, landslide, and the flash floods in the Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, and Jammu Kashmir highlights the erratic monsoon pattern vis-a-vis the whether it is the issues like, let's say, landslide or any other issues that have become aggravated because of this, that highlights the issues of the erratic monsoon pattern. So matlab, the point simply here is that you can highlight the severity through the examples, and this gives a lot of weightage to your answer. Now, what are the causes with respect to the erratic monsoon pattern? First, or changing nature of monsoon. The first is the erratic pattern of the rainfall. Now, what is the erratic pattern of rainfall? So, generally होता क्या है कि when there is development of the low pressure zone in the Gangetic region, ठीक है, or the Gangetic Valley region, there will be attraction of the winds from the high pressure zone towards the low pressure zone, right? And in that particular cases क्या होता है, sometimes because of the breaks in the monsoon, what happens that there may be the time period when the heat increases or the temperature of that particular region increases. That can lead to accumulation of more and more moisture, and when that particular dry spell hits again by that particular whatever the pressure related winds that are flowing, in that case there can be extreme rainfall event that you can observe. So the more intense burst of the rainfall separated by the frequent dry spell. So dry spell is going to give the dryness or the comparatively more heat that will lead to more accumulation of the moisture, and that can cause a more impactful rainfall, right? Next is regarding the changing El Nino monsoon relationship. So generally it was considered that during the El Nino year there will be comparatively drought like situation in India or less rainfall compared to the average rainfall in India. But over a period of time, when we got to know that there are many other events, for example, the Indian Ocean dipole is also there. There is the heating and cooling pattern with respect to the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea, that is also there. The heating pattern of the Atlantic Ocean is also going to play an important role, right? So a lot of new factors that are emerging, and because of which it's not only like the El Nino pattern that is going to give a clear idea with respect to the monsoon or the changing pattern of monsoon, because sometime what happens that when even the El Nino is there, but because of the positive Indian Ocean dipole, there may be comparatively better rainfall compared to the average, and this is contradictory to the concept, right? So in that case, the weakening of the correlation between El Nino and the reduced monsoon rainfall, that is also one such issue. And because we are assessing whether the rainfall is going to get above average or below average based upon these factors, that's why it is comparatively difficult to predict. Then the special distribution of monsoon. So previously it was like comparatively eastern area, the Gangetic region, the Bihar, Jharkhand, these particular region used to get comparatively more rainfall, and the Rajasthan, Gujarat, these particular region were comparatively dry. But now what is happening, there have been changes observed in the special distribution of the monsoon. So what is happening right now, that there is decreasing rainfall in the Gangetic Basin region and increasing rainfall pattern in the Gujarat, Saurashtra, in even the Rajasthan. Now why that is happening? Because that weak pressure zone that used to develop very intensively in the Gangetic Basin region, that kind of weak pressure zone is not getting created, and that's why this kind of disturbance is being observed. Next is the climate change. Obviously, when we are talking about a lot of things that are getting aggravated because of the climate change itself is causing a lot of other issues also. For example, the sea level rise, right? The increasing temperatures of the sea, and that is going to impact a lot of circulations, whether surface circulations or in the atmospheric circulations, right? Increasing water vapor holding capacity, because if the temperature is going to increase, the water holding capacity might also get increased simultaneously, and once in that case a large amount of vapor is going to get accumulated, when it will burst, it will cause the erratic monsoon, right? So these are the causes, some of the causes that we can talk about. Now, what is the impact of this particular changing pattern? First is obviously the increased monsoon disaster. We have seen a plenty of disaster for this particular year. Already a lot of disasters have happened. If you talk about the Jammu and Kashmir, if you talk about Himachal Pradesh, whether you talk about Uttarakhand, the specific event like the Dharali mein jo hua, the cloudburst related event, right? So all these things are going to happen if there is erratic rainfall, because we have done a lot of construction. Now try to relate this particular topic with the first one. when we are compromising upon the environment, when we are doing the mindless development, then these kind of extreme event might cause the disaster situation. Next is the health implication. So when there will be a lot of issues with respect to the pattern of monsoon, previously those region used to be dry, now they are having comparatively large amount of rainfall. There will be issues like maybe the heat stress that might be there, the dengue and many other communicable diseases that might occur in those regions. Then the forecasting challenge, obviously, when it is not dependent upon one factor, it is a mix of the different factors. Now, how much percentage to take care of from each and every factor and how to arrange that, it is also a very difficult task at the end of IMD and the other agencies, right? Lastly is the economic pattern, because India is a country which is mainly dependent upon the agriculture, whether it is the 51% of the India's farmland which is dependent upon the monsoon, 40% of the agricultural production, and with the 47% of the population dependence, if there is substantial change with respect to the monsoon pattern, then it is going to impact a large chunk of population. That's why what should be the solution? So the solution should be, we should not wait for disaster to occur, right? So in that particular case, it is nothing but to just wait and watch situation. Once the disaster will occur, you will do only the post-disaster activities like the rehabilitation, rescue and all. But what you should do, you should be doing the kind of approach which is the proactive in nature. So for that particular thing, pre-disaster focus should be there, so that the vulnerability should be decreased. How you are going to decrease the vulnerability? Make sure that the ecologically sensitive zone should not be disrupted. Make sure that what is the natural course of river, that should not be disrupted. Make sure that which are the fragile region, the kind of development that right now we are doing, that should not be done. So ensuring the sustainable infrastructure and effective early warning system is the need of the time, and we should be very much sensitive towards this, because the disaster is not seeing that what amount of development you have done or what amount of money you have spent. It will swept away in just one go. So the point is ensuring the sustainable development thing is the future, right? So the PYQ regarding this is like previous PYQs. Along with that, how far do you agree that the behavior of the Indian monsoon has been changing due to the humanizing landscape? Now, what is humanizing landscape? The doing of construction, then deforestation, changing the courses of river, a lot of things. Along with that, there will be, because it is asking how far do you agree, because there are certain natural patterns also, like the climate change. In climate change also, there is the human induced wala aspect, and then there is natural aspect also. So both the things you have to balance in this particular answer. Next is the UNGA launches the new initiative for the global artificial intelligence governance. Now, from the perspective of the UPSC examination, GS paper 3, the science and technology, specifically the development in the field of artificial intelligence, even including the ethical regulations in the artificial intelligence, it can even be asked in the GS paper 4. Then GS paper 2 mein, because UNGA is the prime organ of the United Nations, so in that case, the UN reform and the global institution related questions can also be asked. Now, what are these initiatives? So what United Nations has done, it has launched two important initiatives. First is the Independent International Scientific Panel on the Artificial Intelligence. Now, what this particular panel is supposed to do, this scientific panel, International Scientific Panel on the Artificial Intelligence, is going to promote the understanding of the artificial intelligence. Now, right now what is happening? On the one side, there is a substantial development with respect to the artificial intelligence that is going on. But on the other side, there are a lot of issues and challenges that are emerging as the concern because of the development of artificial intelligence. If there is no such inclusivity, if there is no transparency, if there is no accountability in that particular case, how you are going to ensure that whether the development of artificial intelligence is sustainable or not? So in that case, there is promotion of scientific understanding, but also evidence-based, rigorous, independent scientific assessment, so that what developments that are happening, that should not hamper the kind of population related issues जो हम face कर सकते हैं in the future. So it is going to bridge the gap between the cutting edge technology and the policy making, so that ऐसा ना हो कि technology is going to get developed very, very fastly, but the policy making is very, very slow, so that the regulation will not be there, and it is going to create a lot of inequality in the society. So there will be global dialogues also on the artificial intelligence related governance. So UN Secretary General had said that in 2026-2027 there will be this particular global governance related this global dialogues that will be there. 2026 May it will be in Geneva, 2027 May it will be in New York, and 2026 May in Geneva, the first report of this particular scientific panel will be laid down. The next is the global dialogue on the AI governance. So this is the second initiative, recent one, which is launched by UNGA, right? So as the global dialogue on artificial intelligence governance, that means it is the forum to promote the dialogue and discussion between different stakeholders. So it is the platform to discuss the international cooperation on the artificial intelligence. They will share the best practices, the country specific practices, that what different countries are doing. Open, transparent and the inclusive discussion on artificial intelligence. Because अब ऐसा तो नहीं है कि all the countries are getting developed on the artificial intelligence equally. Some countries are progressing very rapidly. Certain countries are lagging behind in this particular race. So in that case, the open, transparent and inclusive discussions are going to be promoted through this. Now it is, these two initiatives are built upon the previous initiatives like the Pact for the Future and the Global Digital Compact, which were the previous pact that were taken into consideration by the global community, right? Now, when we are talking about the UN-led initiative, obviously it is going to have certain significance, certain implications, right? So what are the significance? So it is the global UN-led global framework on the artificial intelligence. So basically it is going to provide first regarding the cutting down the gap between the development and the regulation, and also discuss, deliberate on a lot of issues. So it is going to provide the formal UN-led global framework. Next is AI as a global public good. That means right now it is being possessed by different companies, but as it is suggested that it is a kind of global good. That means whatever developments that are going on in the field of artificial intelligence should not be just monopolized by one specific player or one specific country. So it should be treated as the global good, because the eventual benefit should be taken by all the countries which are there. Next is balancing the innovation and the risk mitigation. Innovation is causing the leading of that particular country in the artificial intelligence race. Like during the Cold War time period, there was a space race. Right now in this particular age, it is the artificial intelligence race. So in that case, we have to balance the innovation. ऐसा नहीं है कि artificial intelligence related innovations should not be done, but at the same time we have to ensure the risk mitigation. What might be the potential risk? We have to mitigate that, and we have to provide the sustainable and the inclusive solution. Next is the equity and inclusivity को promote करना. So we have to ensure the equity. All the countries will not be able to get developed in the artificial intelligence domain, because at the equal level. So there have to be the concept of equity that has to be ensured. Which are least developed, that should be supported by the developed country which have the comparatively better capability of artificial intelligence. Next is the inclusivity. That means no one should be excluded from the developments in the artificial intelligence ka domain. So that should be also promoted, right? Now what are the other mechanism at the different level, including the UN level, for the global AI governance? So first is the Pact for the Future. We have already discussed previously, right? So in the Summit for the Future in September 2024, this Pact for the Future was taken, right? In that pact, achieving the SDGs and responding to the emerging challenges through the artificial intelligence. So see, one such issue that we can think of artificial intelligence, that it might going to create a lot of concerns in the future, but that technology can also be utilized in order to resolve the issues that we are facing presently, whether it is the lack of availability of data or whether it is with respect to anything. So in order to achieve the SDGs and responding to the present day challenges, the artificial intelligence can provide some support. That should be harnessed through the Pact for Future. Then the Global Digital Compact, it is also part of the Pact for the Future. It is a comprehensive global framework for the digital cooperation. Countries are going to cooperate with each other with respect to the artificial intelligence related developments and the artificial intelligence related governance. So both the things are provided with respect to the Global Digital Compact. Next is the Artificial Intelligence for the Good Global Summit. So this is not a new thing. This was already going on since 2017, right? So the AI applications to advancing the SDGs. So since SDGs was already taken by that particular point of time, and the artificial intelligence as a concept was already there, so how we can achieve the SDGs through the artificial intelligence ka support. So that particular thing was already promoted by the ITU, International Telecommunication Union, and the scale for the global impact. So how SDGs can be achieved and the scale up can be done. Next is the adoption for the first global standard on the AI ethics in 2021. So these are the developments by the global community in the domain of the artificial intelligence that were done. So the global standards on the artificial intelligence ethics in 2021, then the UNESCO's recommendation on the ethics of the artificial intelligence, because when it is going to provide a lot of power, there has to be insurance of the ethics in this artificial intelligence domain. Clear hai? So these are the mechanism that you can quote. Now, when the question might be asked regarding the unsustainable development in the field of artificial intelligence is going to show the grim future and impacting the sustainable development goal achievement. Elucidate or elaborate. There you are going to talk about the issues because of the artificial intelligence, but then you can also talk about the recent initiative by UNGA and then other solutions that are being taken care of. And then you can provide a way ahead that how the countries can move forward with respect to the global cooperation. Right? So like this, the question can be asked. Next is the Unified District Information System for Education UDISE Plus 2024-2025 का report released by the Ministry of Education. Now see, this is a report where a lot of data is being there, right? I will going to discuss a brief idea regarding the application of that specific data and what kind of development we have achieved. So now from the examination perspective, it is important from GS2 because the social justice, the aspect related to education is very, very important. Gender parity is very, very important, right? So education policy as a part of social justice, GS1 society, again, when we are talking about the infrastructure with respect to female or the enrollment with respect to female, right? So in that case, the society will also come into picture, right? So what are the major findings? This talks about the data. So there are certain major findings, but before that, this particular survey of UDISE 24-25 that is done by Ministry of Education. So this particular platform acts as a centralized database where the information with respect to individual students that is being submitted by the schools that is available, whether student, whether teacher, all these things with respect to infrastructure, enrollment that is being provided by the school. So that particular information resides in this common platform and that is utilized in order to ensure the policy making better inclusive, right? What are the major findings? So 2024-25 ka report is being released. Now the total number of teachers has crossed the 1 crore mark in 24-25. That means the number of teacher has increased. So that means the teacher to the student ka jo ratio hai, that is also going to get increase. Matlab for one teacher, how many students are getting allocated, right? So it is represented at the pupil teacher ratio. So number of teacher have increased. So there have been 6% increase from the past assessment 22-23. So the teachers have increased and crossed the 1 crore mark. Next is regarding the pupil to teacher ratio. So in that case, what NEP has suggested and what is the global standard is roughly like 1:30 or 1:25 ke around. NEP ka hai 1:30. So in that case, what is the pupil teacher ratio as far as different level are concerned? Now do not worry about like what is foundational, what is preparatory, what is middle and what is secondary. As per the National Education Policy 2020, there have been this classification that have been done. So it has classified into 5+3+3+4 wala formula. So from 3 years to 8 years, it is the foundational stage. Then 8 to 11, it is the preparatory stage. Then 11 to 14, it is the middle stage, and the secondary comes from 14 to 18. And this is in the context of years. This is the year of student, right? What is the age of that particular student? So PTR for the foundational is 10. Matlab, on 10 student, there is one teacher. At preparatory level, one teacher for 13 student. At middle level, one teacher for 17. And secondary level, one teacher for 21. All are under this particular limit. Now, what is the benefit? That means teacher is going to give comparatively better attention to the students if there are lesser number of students. If there are more number of students, the attention might get reduced, right? So the individual attention can be provided better. Then the dropout rate. So decreasing of the dropout rate is going to get show the positive things, right? So dropout rate are those who are continuing the education and then they drops out because of any specific reason. So when they have enrolled and they have not completed that particular course, that is considered as dropout. So it has decreased from 2.3% at the preparatory level. Now preparatory level is what? It is 8 to 11 year, right? So 2.3% reduction. Middle में 3.5% reduction, secondary में it is 8.2% reduction. Next is the gross enrollment ratio. Matlab out of the eligible population in that particular age, how much have been enrolled in the for the education, right? So it has improved to 90.3 in the middle level, 68.5 in the secondary level. Matlab this age bracket mein how much people are there in the educational system. 90.3 in the middle. Middle is for 11 to 14 and secondary is for 14 to 18, 68.5%. That means it shows if it increases, that means the more people are coming to the educational fold. Next is the zero enrollment decreased by 6%. Zero enrollment means the schools with the zero students or whatever the students were there, those passed out now, and now there are no such enrollment. So that has decreased by 6%. But still there, that means it is also one such concern. We have to completely eliminate this. And next is the single teacher school. Matlab in a complete school, there is only one teacher. So there have been 38% decrease in the single teacher school. That shows that the system is getting improved. But then also there are certain issues that might be there. This report also talks about some of the issues that we can take care of, right? Now, when we talk about and compile the data, comprehensive data and the trends with respect to the school education, see, with respect to 23-24 and 24-25, what kind of changes have been observed? Now, this is the complete infrastructure header: computer access, internet, girls' toilet, playground, ramps with the handrail. So this can be clubbed under the infrastructure. So in all the factors, the infrastructure wala aspect has improved. So you can tell about that this particular survey says that there have been improvement, minor sahi, lekin there have been improvement with respect to the infrastructure. In all the headers, there have been improvement. Next is regarding the female representation. That is very, very important from the social justice and the society perspective. There have been the girls enrollment that have been increased, right? 48.1 to 48.3. Next is the female teachers, 53.3 to 54.2. That means in both the cases, the female representation has increased, right? Now, in that particular case, you have to see that how this particular data can be fitted to the answer. Because if you are writing the answer, if there is an aspect that you can write with respect to the disparity between the male representation and the female representation, you can utilize these particular data in your answer. See, prelims may comparatively chances are lesser, but the mains related data can be accumulated from here. Now, I would say maybe for certain things, you can take, for example, computer access and the internet data. This can be clubbed, and if there is technological improvement vis-a-vis the educational things are concerned, so kya benefit hua hai, that particular thing can be quoted in the answer. With respect to girl toilet, that can be clubbed with the girls enrollment and the female teachers. So if the toilet access has been increased, that means more chances that the girls enrollment is also going to get increased, right? So these kind of permutations and correlations you can do. Next, or I think this is the last with respect to the major news, the road accidents in India 2023 report released by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, right? So Ministry of Road Transport and Highway released this report of the road accidents 2023. Now, when we talk about the UPSC syllabus, GS paper 3, infrastructure is a major topic, right? The road infrastructure is also one major topic in that, and the critical for the infrastructure and planning, this road wala network is important for that, the road safety policy, and right now a large amount of construction of the roads in the form of the national highways, state highways and the other roads that is being done. So in that context also, there are chances UPSC can ask the question regarding this. Now again, this is a report based article, so there are going to be a lot of key statistics in this. So first statistics is regarding that the total accidents and the fatality in 2023. So the report highlights that roughly 4,80,583 road accidents that have been reported. Now this is the road accidents that have been reported. Now if you talk about how many people got died in these particular incidents, the data is roughly more than 1,75,000. So this is the rough data, 1,75,000 those who died in these road accidents, right? So this is the number of accidents, that 1,75,000 around lakh around is the data of the fatalities or the death in that cases. Now this has increased, that means the road accidents are increasing. Now why the road accident might be increasing? Because of sometime there is issue of pothole, sometime there is issue of maybe the improper the drainage system, right? Maybe because of certain kind of climatic conditions like the rainfall and all, right? So there are a lot of chances because of which maybe fog wala condition, right? So these things are there. Then the report says that Tamil Nadu recorded the highest number of the road accident. This is the road accident, not the fatality. Fatality ke context mein, it is the Uttar Pradesh which is the highest. So Tamil Nadu in the number of accidents, Uttar Pradesh in number of fatalities or the deaths that have been reported. Now, next is the accident prone highways. So though it is said in the report that national highway and the state highway comprises of roughly 5% of the total road network in the country, but they constitute of more than 50% of the fatalities and the accident, roughly 53% of accidents and 59% of fatalities. Now, the reason is very, very clear. Generally in the district roads, you might not be running your vehicle or driving your vehicle at that speed, but in the highways, the limit is like 80, 90, 110, right? So in that particular cases, what is going to happen? Suppose if there is fog-like condition or maybe some kind of animal pass by. In that cases, there are very high chances that there may be accidents. The road user categories, so it is also mentioned that who are most vulnerable. It is the two-wheeler riders who constitute the highest percentage of the accident death. Roughly 45% deaths that we are talking about is of these two-wheeler people. And usme bhi there is a data in this report only that says that majority of the deaths are because that they are not wearing the helmet or utilizing the proper safety gear. So in that cases, the chances of the mortality is also high. Next is the followed by the pedestrian. Matlab, those people who are not driving anything but they are just walking, so they are also vulnerable because sometimes this hit and run kind of issues are also prominent, right? Now, what are the major causes of the road accident? First, maybe the human error. Obviously, this is the most prominent issue because if you are not following the traffic rules, if you are going by the wrong lane, if you are just moving beyond that particular speed limit, if you are not even eligible to ride the vehicle, but still you are riding the vehicle, all these kind of issues are there because of which, because of the human error that causes the road safety related issues and ultimately culminating into the accidents. Next, the road environment, the geographical area, maybe nearby the school, maybe nearby the hospitals, maybe nearby the markets, maybe nearby the residential complex, jahan par the people's movement is comparatively high, and in that cases, if the vehicle comes at that particular speed, then it is going to create the chaos. So that is the one such issue. Another is the road feature. Sometimes there are potholes, sometimes there is damaged road, sometimes there is no repair work, sometimes there are certain equipments that are laying only. The quality of roads, all these things causes the issue. Even the sharp curves on the road, these are also the issues. Next, the weather conditions. Sometime after the rainfall, you will see the clogging of the water. You do not even know that how much deep that particular water is, and that particular thing might lead to the accident with respect to the road infrastructure. So this is regarding the road environment. Next is the vehicular condition. Sometime when you are driving your vehicle, that vehicle is too old, that might not be having proper brake system, right? And in that cases, once if that is including any of these things, that might lead to the issue like the accident, right? So these are the issues. Now, what are the mitigation or the measures taken by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highway? There are certain things that have been done. Educational measures are there, for example, road safety advocacy scheme. So here the initiative is in order to promote the awareness, incentivizing people in order to promote the awareness. So these particular things are being done through the road safety advocacy scheme. Next is the observance of the National Road Safety Month or week in order to generate the awareness, in order to talk about the best practices with respect to the road infrastructure, that how to drive the vehicle and all. Engineering methods regarding the, obviously the quality and the construction quality of the roads, right? So road safety audits, if there are any blind spot that are available on the road, if there are any kind of vulnerable places on that road, jahan par hotspot hai, where there is more issues or there are more issues with respect to the accidents, identify those, and the specifically on the national highway, because they are constituting roughly 53% of the accident and 59% around mortality. Then vehicle engineering, for example, airbags, child safety, because sometime when the vehicle collides, in that cases, these particular things can eventually prevent from the death. So that thing should also be there. So the star rating is also there. All these things should be taken very, very seriously. Next is the enforcement measure. So Motor Vehicle Amendment Act of 2019, that talks about certain penal provision with respect to whether you are not possessing the adequate license or with respect to the violation of the traffic rules. That should be strict. Apart from that, the electronic monitoring, like the camera traps are there, sensors are there, right? So those things should also be proactively utilized. Next is the emergency care. So when accident occurs, there are people sometimes who supports, but the law is in such a way sometimes that law penalizes them. So the people hesitate sometimes in order to support. So there is the Good Samaritans related laws being prepared by certain states. So this should be across the country, there should be unified and the standardized rules regarding the same, and also the adequate compensation that should be provided to the victim, and even this Good Samaritans also should be promoted and supported and also recognized, right? So in that cases there should be the support to that, and also the ambulance related provisions that should also be there, and specifically on the hotspot related regions, right? So this is it regarding the road safety related report, which is highlighting certain data regarding the accidents. Now this can also be utilized, the data can also be utilized comprehensively in your answer, as in when you are writing the answer with respect to the road safety or with respect to the issues that the country is facing with respect to fatality, right? So in all these cases you can utilize these data. Now the next article is regarding the personality in news, which is the Raja Prithu Rai, right? So generally we see that in our history the books even were written in such a manner that were not talking about a lot of indigenous personalities who have successfully repelled the invasions, or who had glorified the culture of India, or who had prevented any specific invasion. So this is one such personality, Raja Prithu Rai. So he ruled the Kamrup region. Now Kamrup, Pragjyotishpur, this is the term utilized for the region of Assam, right? So during that particular point of time, it was also known by the name of the Kamrup, right? And this dynasty was there roughly during that time period only. So if we talk about specifically regarding Raja Prithu Rai, so 1185 around is the time period, or we can say the late 12th century is the time period when he came to the throne, and roughly till middle of the 13th century he was there. So roughly early 13th century we can talk about. He belonged to the Khen dynasty. So the Khen dynasty emerged to that particular region of Assam after the decline of the Pala. So you might have already heard that roughly 9th century to 12th century, it is the time period of the Pala dynasty in the region of the eastern part of India, including the Bengal and even some part of the Assam, right? So after that there were multiple dynasties, including the Khen dynasty. They trace their lineage to the Narakasura, right? Then they are worshipping the Kamateshwari, which is the goddesses, which is also utilized, the term is also utilized for goddess Durga, right? Then the Khen rulers emerged as the local chieftain of the Pala ruler, we have already discussed. Now this kingdom is also known by different names. For example, Kamata kingdom, then Kamru is there, Kamrud is there, Kamrupa is there, Kamata is there, Koch is there, then Koch Hajo is there. So whether by any name, this is referring to the Kamrup kingdom, right, or the Kamrup region of Assam. Now Raja Prithu Rai, why it is important personality and why the Assam government is now focusing upon certain personalities which have contributed immensely. So he was the person who defeated Bakhtiyar Khilji. Now see, when in 1206 the Islamic invasion was at its peak, when Delhi Sultanate was established, and now from now onwards the Delhi Sultanate is now expanding to different region. One such region was the eastern part of country, and eastern part of country it was Bakhtiyar Khilji who was sent. Now the Bakhtiyar Khilji's forces when tried to attack on the territories of the Kamrup. Now this is the king, the Raja Prithu Rai, who repelled that particular attack, and there is the Kanai Varsai rock inscription that also talks about. Now the name exactly Raja Prithu Rai is not mentioned, but to some extent that particular name ka similar he mentioned hai, and there are multiple other sources which confirms that this was the king who prevented the invasion or made the invasion of Turk unsuccessful in that region. Now you have to tell me that there is one such another personality from the Assam of roughly 16th, 17th century time period, 17th century we can say, and that had repelled the Mughal invasion in the region of Assam. A prominent military general of Assam. You have to tell me in the comment section who was that particular military general. UPSC can ask the question about that also, right? And Assam government is, when they are talking about these personalities, question can be probable. So now we are going to discuss certain quick updates. So let's start the discussion of the quick updates. First is the index of the industrial production. So what is the scenario right now? That the quick estimates of the index of industrial production shows that the growth of 3.5% in July. So then this particular index shows that what is the growth that is being shown by the industries, right? Now what is the agency which is compiling this? It is the Central Statistics Office, which is the CSO under the MOSP, which is the Ministry of Statistics and the Program Implementation, right? Frequency is monthly, that means every month there is a data. So this is the July data. Based year kya hai? Based upon which particular year's progress we are taking? The 2011-12. Now it is very, very important. What are the sectors? Sectors में सबसे lowest is the electricity, which is 7.99%. Highest is the manufacturing, which is 77.63, and बीच में middle में there is mining, which is 14.37. So these are the sectors that are included. Now when we talk about the exclusion, it excludes the construction, gas, water supply data. Now this is another thing which is very important, that 8 core sectors or the core industries are important in this case. And now this is in the decreasing order. Refinery is highest, then electricity, then steel, coal, crude oil, natural gas, cement, fertilizer. So 8 core industries ka weightage is the highest, which is 40.27. As far as the sectors are concerned, the manufacturing is having the highest weightage, right? This is the index of industrial production. Next is the SEBI's cyber security and the cyber resilience framework. In this regard, the SEBI has clarified that this framework will be applicable only to those entities which are being regulated by SEBI. Unhi par applicable hoga. If there are other agencies not being regulated by SEBI under the ambit of the authorities like RBI and RBI ke bhi apne frameworks hai. If they are following those frameworks, that also is fine. So this framework, SEBI's Cyber Security and Cyber Resilience Framework, was issued in 2015. Now, commonsensically, you can also think that why this framework will be there. So cyber security and cyber resilience framework, so as to make sure that the infrastructure of the capital market should be robust and to prevent any specific kind of cyber attack. So to strengthen the cyber security measures, right? Now the stockbrokers, depository participants, mutual fund, asset management companies, KYC registration agencies, portfolio manager, all comes under its ambit because they are the being regulated by SEBI. Next is regarding liquefied natural gas. So UAE ki Abu Dhabi ki there is a company, National Oil Company, and IOCL, Indian Oil Corporation, have signed a MOU with respect to, or signed a deal for the 15 year in order to supply the LNG, right? Kitna supply karna hai kya? Nahi. What is LNG? So it is the natural gas which is compressed and cooled to such an extent where it is from the gaseous state coming to the liquid state. Now when it is coming from the gaseous to the liquid state, that means in that case its volume get reduced and now it is comparatively easy to get transferred to different places. So it is cooled in the liquid state at about -162°C. Now process of converting this natural gas to LNG is known as the liquefaction, right? Reducing the volume by 600 times. Now you just assume pehle itna sara size tha, now this much is the size of the LNG. So transportation is easy. So comparatively in a better manner you can transport this LNG. Now when we talk about the highest exporter, it is US. So not any Middle East country, it is the US which is the highest exporter of LNG, then followed by Australia and Qatar. So this is very, very important thing apart from the concept with respect to LNG. Next is the extended range attack munitions. So simply the US is now approving the delivery of the extended range attack munitions to Ukraine. Now there is a kind of tussle that is going on, that if Russia is attacking on the Ukraine, Ukraine is retaliating Russia. So there are countries like US which is supporting Ukraine and they are further fueling that particular war, right? So in that case, this kind of thing is important, that what is the extended range attack munition. So it is simply a kind of precision guided missile. Okay? Now next generation air launch missile hai. What is the target range? 240 km to 450 km is the range of this particular missile. Now the warhead which is going to strike that particular region, that will carry the 500-pound explosive, not important this data, but it is important that it is also having the GPS enabled thing. There will be a tracker that will be there will be maneuverability, so you can till very end change the direction of that specific guided missile. That's why it is a guided missile. So a combination of GPS, inertial navigation, right, and apart from the terminal seekers, so that last moment pe bhi, within a few meters, if there is some change in the location of that particular target, then it can alter. So there will be a GPS which will be navigating. Apart from that, there will be terminal seeker also within the 10-meter range, right? It can destroy the bunkers, fuel depots, right? These are the things. Next is the Nuakhai festival, right? So Prime Minister has recently extended wishes to the people of India on the occasion of the Nuakhai festival. Now simply this is an agricultural based festival, but in the case of festivals, what is very important is the region where that is celebrated. So in the region of Odisha, this particular festival is celebrated, also known as by the name of Navanna. It is the agricultural based festival. Now generally what happens in the agricultural based festivals, so whenever there is first harvest, that particular first harvest is devoted towards the god. Some portion is devoted towards the god in order to ensure the better production in the upcoming time period also. So according to the oral tradition, it was introduced by Raja Ramai Dev of Patna. The significance is it shows the worship of the food grain or the rice and express the gratefulness for a good harvest, symbolizing the life itself. So it is for the better harvest. These kind of agricultural festivals or agro-based festivals across India, these particular festivals are being celebrated. So Nuakhai festivals, it is celebrated in the region of Odisha, specifically the western Odisha. Next is regarding the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. So we know that after coming to power for the very first time, this particular NDA government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, they have initiated this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana with the objective of ensuring the financial inclusion, right? So that has completed now the 11th year. That had proved to be the biggest financial inclusion initiative in the world and supported a large chunk of sections of the society. So there is some data that you can utilize in your answers. 56 crore Jan Dhan account, more than that. Total deposit 2.68 lakh crore rupees. 38 crore plus there are free of cost RuPay card, that is ensuring the credit availability to the people. Next is the 67% of the account open in the rural and the semi-urban. So out of this 56 crore, 67%, मतलब 2/3 से ज़्यादा were opened in the rural or the semi-urban region. 56% of accounts are opened by women. That means women have participated significantly as far as this particular financial inclusion is concerned, right? Next is regarding cotton. So government has extended the import duty exemption on cotton. So what is the import duty? Whenever you are importing, sometimes if government want to prevent or reduce that particular import, they put the import duty on that, right? So in that particular cases, that particular import duty related exemption have been provided. Now the features with respect to the cotton have been provided. It is also known as white gold, natural fiber hai, semi-xerophytic tropical crop. That means it can be produced even with the very limited amount of water. In the Kharif season, in the semi-arid region, right? So semi-xerophytic, semi-arid region, similar kind of thing. Range is well-drained, deep alluvial soil में भी मिलता है. In the northern part of the country, Gangetic Plain, black clayey soil in the central region, even in the black-red soil of the southern part of the country, this is available. Tolerant to salinity to some extent, but sensitive to the waterlogging, because since it is comparatively the semi-xerophytic tropical crop, that's why if there is waterlogging, then there may be impact on the crop. Requires the high temperature, light rainfall, and 210 frost-free days and the bright sunshine for its growth. So these are the conditions. Now India is second largest producer of the cotton after China. Next is the only country which grows all the species of the cotton. So this is the only country. Major state, if we talk about the cotton, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Each and every point has given you some prelims pointer. These are very important. That's why a lot of things I have covered, right? This is important aspect. Next is regarding AQLI, which is like 2025 annual update of the air quality life index. AQLI, air quality life index, that has been released. Now who has released this? This is released and created and released by the Michael Greenstone, who is the professor, and his team, Energy Policy Institute at the University of Chicago. So not any government agency, but by the professor and his team. Now what this particular index is all about? This index says that what is the impact of the particulate matter on your life expectancy. Maybe ho sakta hai ki when there is pollution, maybe you might be dying early. So there is also the impact of the pollution on your lungs, on a lot of life things, right? So in that cases, it is talking about the measurement of the impact of the particulate matter air pollution on the life expectancy. Now they have specifically talked about in the context of India that the air pollution meeting WHO का जो guidelines है with respect to air pollution, if we meet that, then in that case, the life expectancy can be increased by 3.5 years. On average basis. That means the life expectancy can be increased. But within Delhi, if you talk about, it is roughly 8.2 years. Matlab, this is the age that can be increased for the individual if we will be able to meet the WHO standards regarding the pollution. So this might be the impact that can be seen. Now South Asia continues to be the most polluted region. So this is obviously fact, and we see all the reports that talks about South Asia is one of the most polluted regions in the world, right? So this is it regarding the air quality life index AQLI. So this is it regarding the news today edition of the 29th of August. Right. So I hope whatever we have discussed is clear to you. Now there must be questions on the screen. Try to solve them. Try to write the answer in the comment section. Also make sure that there are things provided on the digital current affairs portal. Do make sure to watch those particular things. Right. So with this, we are concluding this particular discussion. Thank you, everyone.